Story, story.
Story.
Story, story.
Story.
Story, story.
Story.
In the heart of the Niger Delta, where the creeks meet the sea, a young Ijaw girl named Ebie sat by the riverbank. The waters whispered secrets, stories of old, and dreams untold. Ebie's father, Chief Desai, was the respected leader of their village, known for his wisdom and strict adherence to tradition. As Ebie collected water, she noticed a young boy, Tari, from the neighboring village. Their eyes met, and in that fleeting moment, they exchanged curious glances that seemed to carry the weight of unspoken words. Though strangers, there was a connection between them, a silent understanding that something significant had just begun. As the river flowed gently past them, Ebie and Tari were drawn to each other, intrigued by the unfamiliar yet comforting presence. The meeting was brief, but it left a lasting impression on both of them. Ebie, usually reserved and obedient, found herself thinking about the boy she had seen. Tari, too, couldn't shake the image of the girl by the river. They returned to their respective villages, unaware that this chance encounter was the beginning of a story that would challenge the very fabric of their lives and the traditions they held dear. Ebie and Tari's friendship blossomed over the years. They met secretly by the river, sharing stories, dreams, and the innocent joys of childhood. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day, as they found comfort and companionship in each other's company. Despite the tensions between their villages, their friendship remained a sanctuary, a place where they could escape the rigid expectations of their world. One day, Tari gifted Ebie a beautifully carved wooden pendant, a token of his affection and a symbol of their growing connection. Unbeknownst to them, their innocent friendship was on a collision course with the rigid traditions of their people. The bond they shared was pure, yet it was bound by the invisible chains of cultural expectations and familial obligations. As they grew older, the world around them became increasingly complicated, but the river remained a constant in their lives, a place where they could be themselves, free from the watchful eyes of their families. The pendant Tari gave Ebie became her most treasured possession, a reminder of the one person who truly understood her. The day came when Chief Desai announced a significant cultural festival, celebrating the unity and heritage of the Ijaw people. The festival was a time of joy and reverence, but for Ebie, it marked the beginning of a new chapter in her life, one she had not chosen. Her heart sank as she learned that her father planned to introduce her to Izonkimi, a young man from a prestigious family, with the intention of securing a marriage alliance. Ebie felt trapped, unable to voice her feelings for Tari, who had become more than just a friend to her. The weight of tradition pressed heavily on her shoulders, threatening to shatter her dreams. As the festival preparations went on around her, Ebie's heart was in turmoil. She longed to be with Tari, but she knew that her duty to her family and her village was paramount. The thought of marrying Izonkimi, a man she barely knew, filled her with dread. Yet, she felt powerless to change her fate. Tradition was an unyielding force in their lives, and Ebie feared that her dreams of love and happiness would be sacrificed on the altar of duty. Desperate to find solace, Ebie sneaked out of her home under the cover of darkness to meet Tari by the river. The night was still, and the only sounds were the gentle lapping of the water and the distant calls of nocturnal animals. Ebie's heart raced as she approached the familiar spot where they had spent so many happy moments together. When she saw Tari waiting for her, a sense of relief washed over her. She poured out her fears, telling him about the arranged marriage and the suffocating expectations that were closing in on her. Tari, ever the dreamer, listened intently and promised that they would find a way to be together. He spoke of a future where they could live freely, without the constraints of their village's traditions. They made a pact that night, sealing it with a promise under the moonlit sky. The river, their silent witness, carried their whispered vows with the current, as if to ensure that their love would endure whatever trials lay ahead. In that moment, they were determined to fight for their love, no matter the cost. The festival day arrived, filled with music, dance, and the aroma of traditional dishes. The entire village gathered to celebrate, dressed in their finest attire, their spirits high. Ebie, despite her inner turmoil, performed the dance of the maidens with grace and elegance. Her movements were flawless, but her heart was heavy with conflicting emotions. As she danced, she caught sight of Izonkimi, the man her father intended for her. He watched her with admiration, impressed by her beauty and skill, but Ebie's thoughts were elsewhere. In the crowd, hidden among the throngs of villagers, Tari watched from a distance. His heart ached with longing as he saw Ebie dancing, knowing that she was being paraded in front of another man. He wanted nothing more than to take her hand and lead her away from the life that was being forced upon her. But he knew that to do so would be to defy not just their families, but the entire village. As the festival continued, the weight of their situation became even more apparent, and they both knew that time was running out. As the festival continued into the evening, with songs and laughter filling the air, Ebie and Tari found a moment to steal away. They slipped into the shadows, away from the prying eyes of the villagers, and made their way to the secluded grove by the river. Under the cover of darkness, they confessed their love, each word spoken with the intensity of a heart that knows the risks but chooses to love anyway. Their love was a dangerous secret, one that defied the expectations of their families and the traditions of their people. They knew that their relationship was forbidden, that it could ignite the simmering tensions between their villages, but they were powerless to stop what they felt. Their hearts had already made the decision for them. They vowed to stand by each other, no matter the consequences, and in that moment, they felt a sense of liberation. The world outside seemed distant and unimportant, all that mattered was the love they shared. But deep down, they both knew that the road ahead would not be easy, and that they would need more than just love to survive the trials to come. Their secret meetings couldn't stay hidden forever. The world around them was small, and rumors had a way of spreading quickly. One day, as they met by the river, they were unaware that someone was watching. Izonkimi, who had grown suspicious of Ebie's frequent absences, had followed her. When he saw them together, his worst fears were confirmed. Furious and feeling betrayed, he confronted Ebie on the spot, demanding to know the truth. His voice was loud and accusing, drawing the attention of others nearby. The confrontation quickly escalated as Tari stepped in to defend Ebie. The tension between the three of them was palpable, and it wasn't long before villagers began to gather, drawn by the commotion. Ebie's heart raced as she realized the gravity of their situation. What had started as a private moment had turned into a public scandal. The situation was spiraling out of control, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. The river that had once been a sanctuary was now the stage for a conflict that could change their lives forever. The village elders gathered to discuss the matter. The air was thick with tension as the villagers awaited their decision. Chief Disa was heartbroken by his daughter's defiance but was bound by tradition to uphold the village's customs. As the elders deliberated, the entire village was silent, knowing that their decision would have far-reaching consequences. Ebie and Tari stood before the council, their heads bowed, feeling the weight of the community's judgment bearing down on them. The elders, after much discussion, decided that Ebie and Tari's relationship was a threat to the peace between the villages. They decreed that Ebie would be betrothed to Izonkimi immediately, to restore harmony. The verdict was devastating for Ebie and Tari, who could see their dreams of a life together slipping away. The village elders had spoken, and in their eyes, tradition must be upheld, no matter the personal cost. As they were led away, the whispers of the villagers followed them, a constant reminder that their love was seen as an act of rebellion. Ebie's mother, Adis, saw the pain in her daughter's eyes and decided to intervene. Late that night, she took Ebie aside and shared a story that she had never told anyone before, a story of her own forbidden love and the sacrifices she had made. Adis spoke of a time when she too had loved someone her family did not approve of, and the difficult choices she had to make. She had chosen to marry Chief Desire out of duty, but her heart had always carried the weight of that decision. Her words resonated deeply with Ebie, who realized that she was not alone in her struggle. Addis urged her to follow her heart but also reminded her of the importance of family and tradition. It was a delicate balance, one that required wisdom and courage. Ebie listened intently, taking in every word. Her mother's story gave her strength, but it also left her with a heavy decision to make. Should she follow her heart, like her mother had once wanted to, or should she uphold the family's honor, as her mother had done? The choice was hers alone. Determined to be with Tari, Ebie devised a plan. She would meet him one last time at the river and together they would run away, leaving behind the life they had known. It was a risky plan, one that required careful timing and a great deal of courage. The night of their planned escape was dark and quiet, with only the sound of the river to keep them company. Ebie's heart pounded in her chest as she made her way to the meeting spot, praying that they would not be discovered. When she arrived, Tari was already there, waiting anxiously. They embraced, knowing that this might be their only chance to be together. With a mix of fear and excitement, they set off into the night, guided by the moonlight and their love for each other. The world beyond their village was unknown and full of dangers, but they were willing to face it together. As they disappeared into the darkness, they felt a sense of freedom and hope, believing that their love could conquer any obstacle. But little did they know, the journey ahead would test their love in ways they had never imagined. The morning after their escape, the village was in an uproar. Ebie and Tari's disappearance had not gone unnoticed, and a search party was quickly assembled. Led by Izonkimi, who was determined to bring Ebie back, the group set out to track them down. The villagers were divided. Some believed the couple should be brought back and punished, while others quietly admired their bravery. As the search party scoured the surrounding areas, Ebie and Tari moved as quickly as they could, knowing that they were being pursued. They knew the terrain well, having spent countless hours exploring the forest and creeks as children, but the chase was relentless. Every rustle of leaves and snap of a twig sent their hearts racing. The fear of being caught was ever present, but so was their determination to stay together. They pushed themselves to the limit, driven by the hope of finding a place where they could be free. The journey was exhausting, and their resources were limited, but they refused to give up. The chase became a test of their love and their will to survive. After days of evading capture, Ebie and Tari finally reached a remote part of the forest, far from the reach of their village. The dense foliage provided them with shelter, and the sound of the nearby river was a comforting reminder of their connection. For the first time since their escape, they allowed themselves to relax, even if just for a moment. The fear of being caught still lingered, but they were buoyed by the thought that they had come this far. The forest, with its towering trees and lush greenery, felt like a sanctuary where they could build a new life. As they set up a makeshift camp, they talked about their dreams and what their future might hold. Tari promised to protect Ebie, no matter what challenges they faced. Ebie, in turn, vowed to stand by him through thick and thin. Their love had grown stronger with each passing day, and they were more determined than ever to make it work. The forest, though wild and untamed, felt like a place where they could finally be free from the constraints of tradition and society. But they knew that their journey was far from over, and that they would need to stay vigilant if they wanted to keep their newfound freedom. Just as they were beginning to feel safe, betrayal struck. One of the villagers who had secretly admired their love story turned against them, hoping to gain favor with Izonkimi and the elders. The villager, who had stumbled upon their hiding place while foraging, reported their location to the search party. Unaware of the danger, Ebie and Tari continued to plan their future, blissfully unaware that their freedom was about to be ripped away from them. The betrayal was a cruel twist of fate, one that would test their resilience and their love once again. The search party, led by Izonkimi, moved swiftly through the forest, closing in on the couple's location. As they neared the camp, the sound of footsteps and voices shattered the peace of the forest. Ebie and Tari realized too late that they had been found. The betrayal cut deep, not just because of the threat it posed, but because it came from someone who had pretended to support them. As they scrambled to escape, their hopes of a peaceful life together were dashed. The betrayal was a harsh reminder that love, no matter how strong, could not shield them from the harsh realities of their world. The search party surrounded them, leaving no room for escape. Izonkimi, triumphant and filled with a mix of anger and jealousy, seized Ebie while the others restrained Tari. The struggle was brief but intense, with Tari fighting desperately to protect Ebie. But the odds were against them, and they were soon overpowered. As they were dragged back to the village, the weight of their situation began to sink in. The dream of a life together was slipping away, and the reality of their circumstances was stark and unforgiving. Ebie's heart broke as she saw the defeat in Tari's eyes. The journey that had begun with so much hope and promise had led them back to the very place they had tried to escape. The villagers, who had once whispered in awe of their love, now looked on with a mix of pity and judgment. They had been captured, not just by the search party, but by the traditions and expectations that had been waiting to pull them back all along. As they were led back to their village, Ebie and Tari knew that the hardest part of their journey was still ahead. Upon their return, the village elders convened once again to determine the couple's fate. The air was heavy with tension as the villagers gathered to witness the judgment. Chief Desai, torn between his love for his daughter and his duty to uphold tradition, was at the center of it all. The elders deliberated for hours, weighing the severity of the couple's actions against the values they held dear. The village was divided. Some believed the couple should be punished severely, while others argued for mercy, citing the strength of their love as something that should be respected. Ebie and Tari stood before the council, their heads bowed in submission. The weight of the village's expectations bore down on them, yet they remained resolute in their love for each other. The elders, recognizing the complexity of the situation, decided that a public punishment was necessary to restore order. Ebie would be given to Izonkimi as originally planned, and Tari would be banished from the village forever. The decision was met with murmurs of approval and disapproval, but it was final. The village had spoken, and there was no turning back. The day of separation was one filled with sorrow. Ebie and Tari were given a brief moment to say their goodbyes before Tari was led away. The villagers watched as the couple, who had defied tradition for the sake of love, now faced the harsh consequences of their actions. Ebie's tears fell freely as she clung to Tari, her heart breaking at the thought of a life without him. Tari, though trying to be strong, could not hide his own sorrow. The pain of separation was unbearable, but they had no choice but to accept their fate. As Tari was escorted out of the village, Ebie felt an emptiness that she had never known before. She was to be married to Izonkimi, but her heart belonged to Tari. The villagers, who had once admired their love, now looked on with a mix of pity and relief, glad that the scandal was coming to an end. But for Ebie and Tari, the end of their time together was the beginning of a new and painful chapter in their lives. The pain of separation was a heavy burden, one that they would carry with them for the rest of their lives. Even as the days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, Ebie and Tari could not forget each other. Their love had been tested by fire, and though they were physically separated, their hearts remained connected. Tari, now living in a distant village, found solace in the memories of the time they had shared. He often visited the river near his new home, hoping that the waters would carry his thoughts to Ebie. The love they had nurtured was still alive, even if the world around them had tried to tear it apart. Ebie, though married to Izonkimi, could not find peace in her new life. She dutifully fulfilled her role as a wife, but her heart was not in it. She found herself drawn to the river where she and Tari had shared so many moments, hoping to catch a glimpse of him in the reflections on the water. The love they shared had become a source of strength for her, even as she endured the challenges of her new life. The river, once a symbol of their forbidden love, had now become a source of comfort, a reminder that true love could endure even the greatest of trials. One day, as Ebie sat by the river, lost in thought, she noticed something unusual floating in the water. It was a small wooden pendant, identical to the one Tari had given her all those years ago. Her heart skipped a beat as she reached into the water to retrieve it. As she held the pendant in her hand, she felt a deep sense of connection to Tari, as if he was right there with her. The pendant was a sign, a message from the one she loved, reminding her that their bond was unbreakable. The discovery of the pendant filled Ebie with a renewed sense of hope. She knew that Tari was thinking of her, just as she was thinking of him. The river, which had once been their secret meeting place, had now become their means of communication. Though they were separated by distance, they were still connected by the waters that flowed between them. The gift of the river was a reminder that true love could transcend time and space, and that their story was far from over. With the pendant in hand, Ebie felt a renewed sense of purpose, determined to keep their love alive. The discovery of the pendant sparked a new chapter in Ebie and Tari's love story. They began to communicate through the river, sending messages and tokens to each other in secret. Tari, who had carved the new pendant himself, was overjoyed when he received a reply from Ebie, a small piece of cloth embroidered with a symbol that only they understood. The river had become their lifeline, a way to keep their love alive despite the distance that separated them. Their secret correspondence continued for months, with each message bringing them closer together in spirit. The river, once a symbol of the obstacles they faced, had now become a source of hope and connection. They shared their thoughts, dreams, and even their sorrows, finding comfort in the knowledge that they were not alone. The messages they exchanged were a testament to the enduring power of their love, a love that could not be extinguished by time, distance, or even the harshest of circumstances. As their correspondence continued, a new threat emerged. Izonkimi, who had grown increasingly suspicious of Ebie's behavior, began to watch her closely. He noticed her frequent visits to the river and the way she seemed to find solace there. His jealousy and frustration grew with each passing day, fueled by the knowledge that Ebie's heart was still with Tari. Though he could not prove it, he was convinced that she was still in contact with the man she loved, and he was determined to put an end to it. Izonkimi's suspicions soon led him to take drastic measures. He began to follow Ebie, hoping to catch her in the act of communicating with Tari. The river, once a place of peace and connection, was now tainted by the presence of an unseen threat. Ebie, unaware of the danger, continued to send messages to Tari, unaware that Izonkimi was watching her every move. The threat was real, and it was closing in on them, threatening to destroy the fragile connection they had worked so hard to maintain. The day of the final confrontation arrived. Izonkimi, having gathered enough evidence to confirm his suspicions, confronted Ebie by the river. His anger and jealousy boiled over as he accused her of betrayal, demanding that she end her connection with Tari once and for all. Ebie, caught off guard by the intensity of his emotions, tried to explain, but her words fell on deaf ears. Izonkimi was not interested in understanding. He wanted to control, to possess, and to dominate. The confrontation quickly escalated, with Izonkimi lashing out in anger. The river, once a place of love and connection, now became a battleground for power and control. Ebie, who had always been strong and independent, found herself overwhelmed by the force of Izonkimi's rage. The situation was dire, and it seemed that there was no way out. But just as all hope seemed lost, Tari appeared, having sensed that something was wrong. The final confrontation was about to reach its climax, and the outcome would determine the fate of their love. Tari's arrival changed the course of the confrontation. His presence alone was enough to shift the balance of power, as he stood tall and resolute in his love for Ebie. The tension between the three of them was palpable, but Tari remained calm and focused. He spoke with conviction, reminding Izonkimi that love cannot be forced, and that true love is built on trust, respect, and understanding. His words, though simple, carried a powerful message that resonated with everyone who heard them. Izonkimi, though still angry and hurt, could not deny the truth of Tari's words. He had tried to control Ebie, to bend her will to his own, but in doing so, he had only driven her further away. The power of love was greater than any force of control or manipulation, and it was this realization that finally brought an end to the conflict. Izonkimi, though unwilling to admit defeat, knew that he could not compete with the love that Ebie and Tari shared. The power of love had won the day, and it was this victory that would define their future. With the conflict resolved, Ebie and Tari returned to the village, ready to face the consequences of their actions. But to their surprise, the elders, who had once been so strict and unyielding, had softened in their stance. The power of love had touched their hearts as well, and they recognized that the bond between Ebie and Tari was something special, something that could not be easily broken. The elders, led by Chief Desai, decided to give their blessing to the couple, allowing them to be together without fear of punishment or retribution. The decision was met with mixed reactions from the villagers, but the elders stood firm in their choice. They had seen the power of love firsthand, and they knew that it was a force that could bring about positive change. The blessing of the elders was a powerful symbol, a recognition of the importance of love in their community. It was a moment of triumph for Ebie and Tari, a validation of everything they had fought for. With the elders' blessing, they were free to build a life together, one that was rooted in love, respect, and mutual understanding. With the blessing of the elders, Ebie and Tari began to build their new life together. The challenges they had faced had only made their love stronger, and they were determined to create a future that was built on the values they held dear. They worked together to heal the wounds that had been inflicted by the past, and they found joy in the simple pleasures of life. The river, once a place of conflict and tension, was now a source of peace and serenity, a reminder of the journey they had taken together. As they looked to the future, they knew that there would be more challenges to come, but they were ready to face them together. Their love had been tested by fire, and it had emerged stronger and more resilient than ever. They were no longer just two individuals in love, they were a team, a partnership, a union that was built on trust, respect, and mutual support. Their new beginning was a testament to the power of love, and it was this love that would guide them through whatever challenges lay ahead. As the years passed, Ebie and Tari's love story became a legend in their village, a tale that was told and retold to future generations. The river, which had played such a central role in their journey, became a symbol of their enduring love. It was said that the waters of the river carried the spirit of their love, and that anyone who drank from it would be blessed with the same strength and resilience that had defined their relationship. The legacy of their love was not just in the stories that were told, but in the way it had transformed their village. The elders, who had once been so strict and unyielding, had learned to embrace the power of love, and the village as a whole had become a more compassionate and understanding place. The legacy of Ebie and Tari's love was not just in their own happiness, but in the positive changes they had brought about in their community. Their love had become a force for good, a reminder that true love is not just about passion and romance, but about the ability to overcome obstacles, to grow and evolve, and to create a better world for everyone.